Hey, I'm Ed Doyle, president of RealFood Hospitality Strategy and Design, and I'm taking time today to sit down with some of the thought leaders across the spectrum of the hospitality industry to understand where we go from here today. Now, here is a weird place. I'm talking to them all remotely. It's no substitute for being in the same room, but it's no substitute for being in a restaurant together. So we're going to see what comes out of today as we look to the future to redefine our hospitality industry and understand how we can support our clients and, frankly, how we can support each other as we try to get through these challenging times.
I'm Christopher Myers.
I'm Joanne Chang. We own Flower Bakery and Myers Chang in Boston.
How do we as an industry get past this COVID thing and still deliver those hospitality moments, those moments where people will take the risk to leave the safe confines of their fishbowl home, right? To be able to go out and take a chance on going out to dinner.
I mean, I think that the most important thing we can do is what you just said. They're leaving the confines of their fishbowl home. We've always talked about how when you come into Myers Chang or into the bakery that, you know, it's like coming into your friend's house, or you guys are coming into our house. You're coming into an extension of our dining room. So I think what we can do is try to make your experience feel as safe as possible, because that is what I think is going to be on the forefront of everybody's mind when they leave their house. Every time we leave, you know, mask, gloves, let's make sure this, that, or we're nervous. And I think ensuring that guests can dine safely, it's not the traditional way that we've talked about hospitality, you know, say thank you, smile, please, ask everybody how their day is. But I think that's how we can show great hospitality, is to pay super close attention to every single little thing that might make them fearful that they're being exposed to something that they've spent most of their time just being at home hiding from.
I'll be honest. I don't know the answer to this just yet. I've been doing this a long time. My favorite thing about doing this was human contact. It obviously wasn't physical contact, but it was a direct contact. It was an intimacy that you had from the first time you heard somebody's voice on the phone. I always enjoyed creating atmosphere, creating experiences, and I don't necessarily know how we're going to do that with our platforms, whether it's Flower in our bakeries or Myers and Chang in that atmosphere. The creating of atmosphere, an overused word, the curating of details and decisions that make a place a party is going to change so drastically. We don't have that playbook yet. I'd be lying if I said we did. We have lots of thoughts about it, but I'd be lying if I said we knew exactly what we were going to do to make a place a place.
How important is the loss of feedback? Like, you know, you can stand in your kitchen and you look out the window and you see the table smiling as they're digging into the food. You make a great wine choice, they're digging the bottle, right? How much of the hospitality experience do we lose now in this hospitality beyond the four walls that we're living in? I mean, aren't we limited by how we can respond and adjust and make that little nuance change?
You've created a pretty big business, and I would say that it's so big you don't get to bake as much as you like to, but I know that what you like more than anything is that personal dialogue you have with somebody that says, this is the best kouign-amann I've ever had. Does it feel the same when somebody texts you that or emails you that?
Well, I have to say, I think, right, you know, before all of this happened, we had already segued into people communicating either through Instagram or email or text or whatever. It was actually fewer and fewer people coming up to me personally to say something. People at this point are pretty accustomed to giving feedback through many other ways other than in person.
Yeah.
What's going on right now is a lot of people out there are going to talk about what an opportunity it is. And the new normal is going to require that we look at things this way. And you're absolutely right. But what is undeniably happening is that it's another entity, it's another force of nature that is requiring that we separate, that we are less social than I think we are determined by our DNA to be. I think the internet did that in so many ways. There was no place on earth that made me happier than a full movie theater watching a great funny movie. Restaurants, whether it's a restaurant that's full capacity or not, the buzz of a place that's filled with life and that energy of humanity is what attracts the people that are in the restaurant business to the restaurant business. Not everybody. You know how chefs are.
Almost as bad as you front of the house people.
I would love this business if it weren't for all these people.
That's right.
Nightclubs aren't a thing anymore. They've really been replaced by restaurants with really loud music. So it's another entity that was sort of eluded from the social experiment because people were working so many hours, they needed to get more entertainment in a shorter amount of time. So restaurant life became that. Now, if we alter that to where it is less visceral and fewer people creating an experience that we are charged by, and we go from Saturday night until Monday with that experience of going out and having an incredible night on the town, I think that it's going to create a sourer creature. And I worry about that for those of us that have spent a little bit of time sour in our lives.
Do you think that this makes the experience even more important than it ever was? Going out to dinner, is there more pressure to execute? Is there more pressure to not just be transactional when we do come back together, whatever that looks like at 25% or 50%? Are people going to be more discerning?
I would absolutely think so.
I would hope not. I would love to see it to be.
Nobody gives a shit.
Well, let me say this. I would love it to be way more of a free-for-all. I would love to see far more thrilling and unrefined places on the landscape.
Is this the rebirth of the local dive? Is this the rebirth of the place where you know everybody? Is this a flight to familiar?
Well, part of the appeal of those places was a little bit of danger, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? There was a little skank on places like that. And that's probably not going to be permissive in this new environment.
The landscape's changing, right? The guest expectation is changing. The one thing that will not change is we can't do any of it without our people, right? And you guys have always done such a great job of caring about your people and understanding that, frankly, they're more important than the guest, right? How does this change the world of being a hospitality worker? I hope on the other side of this, we get to a sustainable model where they can afford to live and eat somewhere where they don't need to go to Medford. But how does this change being a hospitality worker?
I think that in the immediate term, it is heartbreaking because so many people who were in the hospitality business, are in the hospitality business, won't be, because we won't have enough business to sustain them. So to your point, does it change the industry so that it becomes more sustainable for people? A lot of restaurants are going to close. It's going to mean that hopefully people are going to come back out to eat, but that the experiences are going to be fewer, and people are going to need to hopefully understand that we're going to have to charge more because of that.
That's a given, right?
I hope so. And then hopefully because we're charging more, we can then pay a smaller staff more. I mean, what we're seeing now is we're, opening up the restaurant and some of the bakeries. It's a skeleton crew, and we're trying to do everything we can to generate as much sales as we can with that skeleton crew. And can we get that to a sustainable point? And if we can, then can we re-engineer backwards and look at the the team and the number of people and what they're making, and then realize that we can generate more sales with fewer people. So maybe we can hopefully raise wages. But I don't think the size of teams is going to remain the same for, again, I think it's at least a year.
Everything I'm reading from New York is talking about raising prices and raising prices considerably in order to do any of the higher end dining that we're all so impressed by. I mean, we wouldn't have the beer awards if it weren't for Boulay and that bunch 30, 40 years ago that were doing really thrilling concepts and a different level of. They created the Jean-Louis Paladin and all that. Nobody was calling it the culinary arts, until that crew. In order for this industry to sort of renew the vigor it's had over the past couple of, certainly the last decade, where it's been, there's just been an incredible pace of innovation, originality, creativity, for that growth to be sustainable. Prices are going to have to go up, and wages are going to have to go up for back of the house personnel. I don't think that raging debate that's gone on for. I've always looked at restaurants as like the last factory, and we have an edifice, and we take in raw materials, and we're one of the last places that takes them in, does some sort of alchemy, creates a new product, and then charges somebody for it. They pay for it. There's a production team. There's a sales team. There's a team out front, management, to make it look shiny and special and magical. And in every industry of manufacturing, whether it was Westinghouse or GE or Porsche, those people that were out front selling the Porsches were making more money than the people that were ratcheting on, making sure your tire didn't fall off. But that I don't think is going to be sustainable moving forward. I think the wages are going to have to get far more equitable for this industry to have the kind of vigor and energy that it has had for the past many years. I don't know how you feel about that, being an underpaid former chef.
I think that I agree with you on every level. I think this is, you mentioned opportunity. I think the opportunity here is to recast the model to a certain extent. But I think the thing that's amazed me is the consumer engagement on a very human level, right? We've seen an amazing level of consumers supporting staff funds, tipping excessively, buying way more food than you could possibly eat, right? And does this shift, or does this remind the consumer of how important the people in the hospitality business are? Is this repositioning them within their mindset?
I mean, do I think that we're missed? Hell yeah. Right?
Yeah, but I would like to think, yes, it repositions hospitality people in people's minds. But I also know that our memories are short. Everyone has been incredibly generous.
Things change, and they can change in a hurry. And I think that that's what's going to happen right now. And we're all lying if we know what it's going to look like in 6 months or a year.
Right. Well, there's few industries that can transition and morph the way the hospitality industry has. I mean, it's look, if you can't deal with change, you're in the wrong industry, right? We've dealt with all these external forces. Is there something, as you look at this vast forest fire that is hopefully coming down to the end of its blaze, that will spring from the ground where there was never room for something to grow new? Is there something that you're seeing as this new idea, this new transformative something would never see the light of day if we didn't clear the decks?
I pray that it has something to do with creating more human contact and not less, and never allowing yourself to get lazy about, if not expressing that gratitude, being really aware of it yourself. So I hope whatever is taking place in all of us, it's about creating more in the moment contact.
I think that we could potentially grow some parts of our business, going off of what Christopher says, like wanting contact. Like, yes, we want contact, but we can also hopefully encourage people to connect more just within their families. We're doing a lot of make your own chocolate cream pie kits, for example. And so that's something that's different for us, but a little bit similar to what we were doing, but just taken down a different level. And if we can encourage people to buy these things that they can then go home and create on their own, that's obviously not our old business model, but that could be an offshoot of our business model that gets people together at home cooking together, because we're not entertaining groups of people anymore. We're all trying to entertain each other at home.
Personally, why I ended up of many industries that I dabbled in, why I ended up in this was because of the humanity of it, and that it was every single day. You couldn't take a day off of being a human being and needing to sort of check your own tendencies against other people's, and constantly morphing with your customers, and figuring out a way to be a different, better sort of human being all the time. And I think that whatever takes place needs to consider how important getting along with people that I have nothing in common with whatsoever.
I truly believe that when people do crawl out from that crack in their door and open it up all the way and walk through it, one of the main reasons they're going to walk out that door is to go to reconnect with people at a restaurant, at a bar, at a place where you can accidentally maybe bump elbows into somebody these days and feel all of us coming back together. Because I don't think that longing that you guys so eloquently spoke of is going to go away. That isn't just something we as humans can shut off. So I truly believe that we will continue to adapt and figure it out and build the business model and cram down our landlords and figure out how to do this in a new and different way. But I'm confident that at the middle of it will be something that you guys are doing and something that you guys are delivering in the great way that you always have. So hospitality will persevere. I truly believe that. Well, hey, look, guys, I know how busy you are. I so appreciate you taking time to sit down with me. You guys you always make me smile, and you always inspire me. So, and you always make me laugh. So
Love you, Ed.
thanks for all you do.
All right.
Love you.
That's it.